Yeah, so most people keep asking why we do have a lot of suicide cases, especially among men. But there's one thing that most people don't really put in place, or rather just picture. A lot of safe spaces that were initially for men, they're being taken over. And they are being made to be more unsafe for men to actually open up. Now, if you look at how men have conversations and generally their approach towards opening up and just speaking about their issues, there are different setups that men actually feel comfortable opening up in. One of those places is usually the gym. Yeah, the gym. Now you see, the gym these days, or rather gyms these days, have been invaded to an extent where there's too much distraction, there's too much distrust, or rather people don't really feel safe these days because of, there's a mixture of both men and women in those spaces, and men don't really feel safe talking about their issues in presence of women. That is one thing that people don't really understand when it comes to opening up and men, right? So if you look at gyms these days, there is too much distractions. Even the outfits, just people don't even want to have that comfort of trying to start that kind of conversation. Now, the other space which is also very critical, it's it's the barber shops. You see, barbershops are very, very important for men. When a man just goes to a barbershop and sits there, it starts easy with how have you been, what have you, football conversations start. By the time you realize it, they have already gotten deep into the conversation. And you need to understand another thing. There is a bond between a man and their barber that is not as people might presume out here. It's usually deeper. A haircut will determine a lot in terms of how you look. So for a man to trust another man to just do a haircut, and that is why it's usually very hard for people to switch their barbers, right? Because there is also that emotional aspect in terms of just a bond that they're having in terms of conversations, nini. They understand more. You'll find that there are even barbers who understand some men more than even their spouses back at home, right? Because the kind of conversations they talk are even deeper, right? And even further, from different researchers, men feel more comfortable talking to barbers than even mental health practitioners, because there's one thing that always pops up into the mind of many men. The moment you mention or tell a man to go for therapy or counseling, they first picture a woman, because if you look at the mental health space, especially here in Kenya, it's usually filled by more women than men. I've just never truly understood why that is usually the case, but there is a likelihood of you getting a therapist that is there's a high chance of you getting a therapist that is a woman rather than a man, because it's a space that women have been in for quite a while, right? So even if you look at also the setup of the barber shop, right, men often get the barber shop time as a moment of bonding with children or their sons. A father will take their son to get a haircut inside the barber shop, and that alone helps them, bonding. But these days, see, barber shops have been invaded by women twerking, and for them, they're using that as a business model, but they are forgetting the care aspect in which, or rather, the role that these barbershops played in terms of mental health. For them, it's profit, right? Whatever makes me get more profit is what I'll go for, not really about well-being, because that's not something that most actually consider that is. So you'll find that most men tend not to go to speak up in barbershops these days because of that. So even if you look at the general safe spaces kama ujipower, you know, those ujipower joints. In fact, the selling point is usually nguvu ya wanaume, sivyo? But of course, in the long run, you probably know it's not really the case, right? But it used to attract more men to go there, and they used to have a lot of conversations. In fact, most men would go just to hang out at a barber shop, not really to shave, but to listen to those deep reggae music and just have conversations. That's what used to happen way back. And even in Uji Power joints, that used to happen. Until, again, as I said, women started moving to these joints. Now, we don't really want to say that having women to go to these joints is bad per se, because they would probably need some of these things. But any of these spaces that men try to create for themselves, I don't know, is it the men that allow these spaces to be encroached, or is it just women who feel I should go there? Because now there's also the other aspect, you know. We have a lot of women who prefer to open up about their issues na maboys than with women, you know. So there is also those dynamics, but these are some of the challenges that are actually making it difficult for men to have safe spaces, and we are losing a lot of men to suicide. So what I would try to urge people is listen to what men have to say. Most of the time, people ask me, why do men not open up? And from this is some of the feedbacks I keep getting from men themselves. They say their spaces are being encroached, be it in campuses, be it out here, be it just anywhere that they try to create that safe space, they always get invaded. So let's respect men's safe spaces. It's for the gym. I would prefer we do have gyms that are separate. For the women only gym, then the men only gym. For the general well-being of the population, we need to also look at how we approach these things, because it would be very weird if you go to a salon, say just a salon that women often go, and then you find men now coming to that salon. How would it look like? Then when women are having their conversations, men are also there. Put that in the picture, right? Yeah.